Hey everybody, it's me Marquita. I was just watching Belinda. Anyways, um, and she was showing a video of people talking about the HR. Oh shoot, I don't remember the number. The basically the women voting rights, and I'm only saying that in that way because basically if you're non-binary, if you are trans, um, it will affect you because it has to do with your name. Now, I say women rights, and I'm not saying women like in only female. What it is that, hopefully y'all can hear me. That bill is you won't be allowed to vote unless you show your birth certificate and your state ID. Now, if you got married, if you legally changed your name, and all that hoo-ha, yakety smack, you you will be affected. That's why I said non-binary people that picked a name that wasn't specifically one way or another to do with gender. Because my little brother, not my birth brother, uh, a friend, and I call them my little brother, um, by their request, because equality for all, always. And I don't know if they legally changed their name, but I know that they were in the midst of changing their name. I think they were in the midst of doing other things. My only problem is, my only point, not problem, my point of me um, talking about my little brother, uh, talking about them, is if you hear and if you hear their, I'm gonna say birth name because I don't know if they had other names. It's obviously a it's obviously a gender, a you know, like you hear it and you're not thinking, is that a boy or a girl name? No, but like I said, I went to school with this one guy, and like his name, like if you hear his name, you would not think that he was a boy because he is literally the only man or the only male. But I'm not saying that I know all males in the history of history. But I could authentically say I have never in my whole 41 years, going on 42 years, I have never heard anybody else with his name. Now, he could have named his daughter or his son after him. But like if he names his daughter after him, then it would make sense. Like you wouldn't even bat an eye. But like if he named his son after him, which is his name, like so like you might be like, hold on, wait a minute. I thought anyhow. I'm not gonna say, and I don't want to say anything too personal, like, cause I I don't have any problem with him having that name because that's what his mama named him, or somebody in his family named him that. Anyhow, but he is a biological male. He has kids that no, he did not give birth to. But yes, he has kids. So I don't want anybody to be like, oh well, maybe he no he. I don't know. I only know of him because you know what? See, I'm you know, if this video ever gets back to the people that know me personally, I am not saying anything bad about his name. I'm not saying anything bad about him. I never hung out with him. I used to talk to his sister because we, anyhow, um, okay, well, me and his sister, we had a class together. And then me, the mother of some of his kids, also had a class together. But it wasn't the same class. Anyhow, I say that to say, if you got married and you changed your last name and you didn't change it on your birth certificate, you can't vote because now your last name doesn't match your birth certificate. And then I also thought about people that was adopted. And it made me think of my baby men. My that's what it made me think of. It made me think of them. And like I said, when I say baby man, I don't mean only only the males. But it might be a loophole because yes, they're fully adopted and then they got a new birth certificate because when the adoption was final with my girls, we got a new birth certificate, but literally the only thing that changed on that birth certificate was the mother's name. But me and my sister, we have the same last name. My girls has my last name. So yeah, it might show that they got when they were born, they had one birth certificate that is different than the one that they have now, but their name never changed. The only name that changed on the birth certificate was the first and middle name of the mother. Because me and my sister, we don't have the same first or middle name, but we have the same last name. My kids has the same last name as me. So that's literally the only thing that changed on their birth certificate. But baby man, the baby man's, uh, I know that, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think. Yeah, hold on. No, hold on. 4, 5. Yeah, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. So 7 of them, their birth certificate does have the birth certificate of their mom and dad. Even even though when they were born they didn't have that birth certificate, but they do legally have a birth certificate with said name. So I don't know if they're like, even if you got a new birth certificate issue, because like that's the loophole that I think that they're gonna have. And if that's the case, then 7 of the 9 kids, even though their new birth certificate, their legal last name is what is on their new birth certificate. But if the loophole was like, no, your original birth certificate. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. Because if you got married, you of course changed all of your documents, your birth certificate, not birth certificate, your social security card will have your married last name. And that's your social security number. I mean, it's yours. Your state ID, any bills, anything, banking account is going to be in your married last name. When my mama died, when when she was born, of course, she had my last name. That was her last name. And when I was like 1, is when my mom and dad got married. And literally, when she got killed, I had to go and have him sign a paper giving me and my sister permission to be able to start the process for my mama. And y'all gotta understand, at that time I was 40. My mom and dad broke up when I was like 7, 6 or 7. And when my mama got killed, I was 40. My daddy got a whole nother family. Like I said, my brother, like his son, so he's my blood brother, will be 20 in July. My daddy helped the woman he's with now, which is my brother's mom. He helped her take care of her 2 kids when they met. So before she even got pregnant with my brother. Like, my daddy was like basically a full-time dad to them. So, like I said, she literally still had, because they were still legally married. Even with them not being together for what would that be? 33 years? Right? Was it possibly? No. That would have been, yeah, I guess it would be 33 years. Because, yeah, 6 plus 3 is 30, yeah, because 33, 34 years. And I still had to go get his permission. I'm just thinking literally about people. Like, that's what I'm sitting here thinking about. I'm thinking about all my friends and family that do vote, of all their rights getting taken away. And even though I'm not married, that still does not mean that there's going to be like another loophole to where maybe, okay, the women's suffrage was what, 1910. Okay, they marched. The women marched to get the right to vote. Okay, once they got the right to vote, then it was marching to get the black men to get the right to vote during the Million Man March, the March to Selma. All that, and then 1965, when my mama was 3. That's how far it wasn't that long ago. Gary was literally months before he was born up to weeks or months after he was born, because he was born in 65. That's how far it's not in the past. Because I am literally with somebody that was born the year that it was legal to vote. I mean, yeah, it wouldn't have affected him even if he was 18 at that time, because he's a white male. But if my mama was 18 at that time, she would literally not even have the right to vote. She wouldn't have had the right to vote. My great-grandmama, my grandmother, my great-grandfather didn't have the right. My mama's first cousins, that, because my mama was an only child, and she was raised around her first cousins, because she literally, my mama lived in a house with like adult kids or adults. They were my so some of my great grandmother's kids were still at home, which was my mama's aunts and uncles, because, you know, that was her birth mama's sister and brothers, anyhow. And so, my grandmother, my grannies, which I never called her granny, I always called her by her name, because I still say I never met her. My mom's like, you did meet her. And I'm like, I don't ever remember meeting her. My mom was like, oh, well, you were like a couple of months. So, like I said, I was born in 83. I don't know how many times I've seen that woman, if I've seen that woman. But she ended up dying in 08 of a heart attack. But, the good thing that came out of that little thing was my mama got to see her in 08 before she died. And she asked my mama, do you forgive me? She's like, I'm sorry. I was not ready to have a child. I didn't, and she even told her, like, just bluntly, like, I didn't want any kids. She's like, it's not that I didn't love you, because, like, I did love you, but I just wasn't ready to settle down. And I think she was like, maybe like 24, 25 when my mama was born. So it wasn't like she's a teen parent. She was like in her 20s. But she was doing her. And so she was like, mama, which is my mama's grandmother. She was like, mama, I don't really want to be a mother. Will you take my child? And, of course, she was like, yeah, that's my granddaughter. Of course I'll take her. And like I said, my mama was an only child. She really didn't, like, her mother never had any other kids, because she never wanted, she never wanted to slow down to take care of a child. But my mama said that she glad that she got to see her before she died. I didn't get to see her. But it wasn't for me. Like, I would have loved to meet her. But it wasn't, like, I didn't need to forgive her because I didn't have any hard feelings against her. Because I didn't know her. I didn't. And, like, so my great grandmother raised her kids and then her grandkids, which, my mama in that generation. Like I said, my mama was an only child, so she grew up with her first cousins, because the people, the women, and the, I'm just gonna say the women, because their brother died, so when he was 13. But the women that my mama was raised around, the ones that she always called her sister, I'm literally named after one of them. But yeah, they were first cousins. But they were born in the 50s. My mama was born in 62. I think the youngest one of that little family was like 57, 1957. So when she was born, she couldn't vote. I don't know. I don't know how old the youngest was. She died last January, I do believe. Rest in peace. Which my cousin, he died a day after what would have been his mama's birthday. Like I said, I always called him my twin cousin because, like, if you seen us, you would think that we were first cousins, and we literally were not first cousins. We were like third cousins. But I think it had, like, I'm really into like not symbolism, like your DNA can alter itself. That's how I feel, because what is the coincidence? And y'all can be like, it was just a weird coincidence, and you're right, it was a weird coincidence that of all of the cousins, the one that I am named after, I look like her son. Literally. And sometimes Van, which is named after her, which is named after um, the aunt that I was named after, her mother. So my great grandmother's daughter-in-law. That's how it would be. Because how my mama and the one she calls sister, how they are cousins, is my mama's birth mama, and then their birth dad, or sister and brothers. They're my great grandmother's kids. So that's how we're related, if y'all wanted to know. But so Savannah, to me, sometimes she just sometimes looks like my great grandmother's daughter-in-law. And it's not even her, but it's really funny because Savannah's middle name is also that great aunt's. And I don't know if it's her middle name, because, like, we called her by her name, but I don't know if it was like one of them names like maybe a guy named was John, his middle name is Henry, but we call him John Henry. You know, that's like Gary's daddy. Um, like like older um family members always called Gary's daddy by his first and middle name. But that's because Gary's daddy was named after his daddy. And so they either call, like, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to have permission, but so that's what that made me think of. But his first and middle name was not one name. It was like they called him that, or they called him like another nickname. But my whole point of that is I don't know if the name that we called her, if that was her first name or if that was her first and middle name. But my point of it is if the second name is her middle name, then Savannah has her middle name. If not, Savannah has the second part of her first name. You know, like Mary Ellen. That wasn't her name, but I'm saying like Mary Ellen. You know. Anyhow, I just want to talk about possibly losing the right to vote. And it sucks. I'm not married. And I still might get, like, and I don't think anybody should get the rights to vote taken away. I don't. I'm just, people call me Debbie Downer when I just feel like I'm a realist. I am. I'm a realist. You might call me woke, and I say to that, thank you. Because I'd rather be awake. I'd rather hyper vigilant worry about everything and it turns out to be nothing. Then to just be like, oh well, that will never happen, and then there I'm sitting with no rights. There I'm sitting on somebody's plantation. There I'm sitting in a burned down building because big babies wanted to play with big toys, and now the world has to play with it. I'm trying to be politically correct. I'm trying to be politically, you know what? They not like us.